Hello, you are my partner if you want. For I hope not for long. I'm driving back to the shop. I did some work for the search and rescue group, and I'm very excited because for a long time I kind of tried to get into search and rescue. I do have that type of mindset. Maybe it's not a very healthy mindset. I don't know. But it comes from trying to help people with what I have available, my mind, my body, my healthy body at some point. So I kept thinking of that, so I've done some work for that. I still volunteer for other search and rescue group, and today I did help. Of course, I'm getting paid for that one. I'm glad I got something done and it's going to help them in their work, and I'm excited. So while I'm driving, and it's kind of a long and boring trip, I've been to this road so many times, so I let the mind to make up stuff. And not a long time ago, a few days ago, I thought of the Big Bang Theory. So in my work and my life, I have time to process stuff, process thoughts and ideas and concepts. And this is a kind of a big new concept about how the world was created. And there are a number of currents of thought. The main one comes from religion, so it's written in the Bible, so some thousand years, and people go with that because the religion used to be the only authority that provides wisdom and other type of information and the explanation of the natural world around us. And since there were not scientific methods to prove what's going on around us, religion came up with some of the advices and this type of theories that you cannot really prove. You cannot. And since the science is our best friend now these days, it provides with a bunch of information and technologies that changes our lives and changes our lives into the way we want and the way we think is better for us, or the way the creators of this society, the ones at the higher level of the society, want you to believe that what is good for you, like having 3 cars in your garden or in your front of your house, or having the best big house in the block, or having the largest TV screen in the county, that's a good life. So that's the way it's being promoted for some years into the industrialized society. So if you think that's the best life, then of course you are tempted to think that the science and technologies and whatever comes from the science gives you that sense of having a good life, like a faster internet, a connection with your friends or not friends or people across the world. So some things, or most things that comes from science, are good things and are really helpful, like connecting people to other people, spreading the information, the useful information, like treating diseases using the technology, and helping people to live a better life. So those are clear and obvious services and developments coming from science and technology. Others are sort of made up, some sort of a fake, like having this type of dinner or eating this type of diet. And this diet comes from this scientific discoveries, like the GMO. Okay, the GMO comes after years of research, and we attributed that to the science, and we thought, okay, if we eat bigger fruits with no germs or no worms and no whatever attacks or trying to share that resource with us, that must be good for us. But now we realize that those have no taste, they have no really health value, or maybe they do, but not in the same amount like the natural, like organic and untreated fruits and vegetables. So I'm going around because I want to set the field. That's the way I talk and I think. If you think like those young dudes who want to get to the orgasm when they start having sex, they will have a lower quality act when you compare to some older guy who knows the ways and knows how to do it and have the patience to do it, and building up until they both reach the same amount of pleasure or the same result they want. But if you try to do things quick and cut corners, you will not get the same result. The same with research, or the same with work you do. If you try to cut corner to make it fast because the society is pushing you to make it fast, and if everyone is cutting corner, look at what products come from China, because everyone is pushing China to make cheaper and more items than ever before, using less resources. So of course they have to cut corners somehow to please the world, and now the world have to adapt their way of thinking and start realizing that yes, that's China, whatever comes from China, forget about quality. But you live with the thought, yeah, okay, but I'm okay with paying less. So in my life and my field of work, I don't cut corners, and it might take longer, but the customer or the recipient of my service understands how I did it, why I did it, why is this way, why is not that way, why is better than other people work, and the customer leaves with satisfaction that it serves their needs, it will last longer, and they get a product, like a quality service or a product. So now back to the explanation about this Big Bang theory. So I'm trying to set the field, the terrain, so you can kind of get the base layer of the theory, the understanding. So you rely on science more than you rely on a Bible or a religion, because if you are one of the modern world, the modern society type of person, a follower, even you might appear to be a leader, if you are following trends and copy what's cool, what's new, then if you still believe in some God or some religious figure, then you think, religion keeps me in the dark, keeps me anchored in the old ways of thinking, so nothing moves me forward if I'm stuck into that. And if science is saving your friend or relative from some nasty disease, but the religions could not do that, and if the same science is going to push you to stop believing in your religion because it does not help you, never helped you with saving your life or saving your friend or close relative, then of course you are tempting to believe that whatever science tells you, it serves my interest, then I believe in that friend. Now, science is trying to put the religion on the side to get to win the supremacy, And also there is a push for different other forces that are trying, like in a communist system, is trying to keep people from believing into this entity, God or anything religious, because those are people who want control, wants your attention, focus and time, which are your energies. So if you spend a number of hours in prayer, or if you start believing that God gives you a better life, and start ignoring some of the what comes from political leaders or industrialists or greedy people who may want to captivate or capture your energies by selling you stuff and theory and concepts. So if you listen to the religion who might tell you, don't do this or don't do that, then those greedy people won't make the same amount of money. So they want your full focus and energy, and they try to convey you into following whatever comes from their science. So, like I said, I'm not arguing science is bad or it doesn't do anything useful. I'm just saying you have to kind of have a power to dissociate everything related to science with something that is really good and useful to you. So you should have power to listen to what the religious people tell you. You don't have to listen, but you pay attention and open, and science the same amount. So you focus the same amount of brain power to both currents and take whatever is useful to you, and make sure you're not being controlled. So if your religion is trying to control you, you have to be aware, why this priest or this religious leader is trying to grab my focus. Now, going back to the yes, it was kind of a long explanation, 12 minutes. If I lost you as my passenger on my car, on this service car today, I'm sorry. Maybe you pause it and save it for later if you want to do that. If I lost you, that's okay, so I don't mind to have one single person who believes in what I'm going to say, and you don't have to believe it. It's just to give you some sort of clues, so you can kind of start opening your mind processing power and think maybe it's something else. Now, the Big Bang Theory, I'm going to stop going around with the science and reasoning and stuff. The Big Bang Theory, it's arguing that at some point there was a big kind of a star, I would say, star shape or some sort of a celestial object in a universe, and exploded. Big huge explosion, and since then that the result and the dust and everything that came out of that explosion moved around the universe, kept traveling across the universe, and combined to other parts that came from the same explosion, because they said there was one single item that exploded, so they had to combine with it those elements and particles and pieces of that initial explosion item, combined to its siblings, sisters, like a sister atom system, sister molecules or something like that. So they combined and they kept traveling, but we assume that the sum of the objects, like galaxies, stars, systems, constellations in the universe, the sum of those are actually the total that came from that single object, because according to the science, the energy has to be conserved, or is conserving. So you don't lose anything, you don't gain anything. So somehow it's a proper balance. So you had a big explosion, like a huge amount of energy, and that one exploded and started traveling and recombining and stuff. And the pieces and the new constellations and systems, those energies together would be equal with the initial energy that came from that object, the initial object that exploded. So that's based on the scientific previously discovered and launched theories, because that's the science. They build everything on top of the older theories, and they develop those, modify, and if those theories work for humans, and they confirm that they're not only they don't have applications, but they prove that they do work. Then the humans, they keep using those theories, like the relativity theory of Einstein. We kept using that theory until the new one came and said, you know what, that one is kind of old, outdated. It's okay, but we have a new flavor of that, and it's better. Okay, so how do we know? Since we keep building on a kind of a hard sand base layer, and if you have a strong current or a strong storm or surge, it's going to get rid of the base layer, which is the concept about the matter and atoms. So that base layer, to me, it's not on a solid ground, it's not on a rock, it's on a hard sand. So it can stand, but I can tell you that I will describe in another recording that this matter, the way we see it, is just an illusion. Everything is an energy made for us, for our five senses, to make us believe that everything is solid, is material, is matter, is hard, has gravity. And I'll explain you later in different recording, different video, that this matter, the gravity field and everything, is just part of a field of those energies that are kind of clusters of energy that form these atoms and whatever, however we describe, and which we see. We just see the traces, we see their impact on other energies. We think, okay, if we see the impact, we see the result, we feel it. That's only because we have limited amount of information coming from the limited senses. If we were equipped with another sense, let's say a specialty sensor that can measure the energy, can see the energy clusters, like some people can do that, then we would reconsider the whole theory about atoms and energy and matter and everything else. And for those who can see energies, but real ones, not those who think, you can see aura, if you do clench your eyes or cringe or do something, you see energy. No, that's BS. No, there are real people who enhance those senses, and they can see at the energetic level. So, different topic. Those would reconsider the whole material world and scientific theories, and they do. And now coming back to the initial explosion. So you have this energy that supposedly was limited, because you cannot have an infinite amount of energy distributed into or concentrated into a single object, which is limited in space. So an object in the material world cannot be infinite. So there is no such theory explaining to humans or to the average dying person like me and you. There is no theory telling you that you have an object anywhere in the universe that can hold an infinite amount of energy, or an object that can be spread across an infinite or unlimited space. No, everything has a limit in the material world. So we think about the universe being infinite, But we think that it is infinite, but actually it's kind of filled with void, and it doesn't have a border, doesn't end anywhere. So we just assume that it's infinite. So if we go by that theory that the universe we understand, we know, and we can measure, it's infinite, how you spread this initial energy to an infinite space. So if you want to do that, that means you share that initial explosion energy. It can be huge, but it still has a limit. You cannot, based on our theories, you cannot assign infinite energy to an object, to a material object, unless you want to be tempted to think, maybe there is God who has infinite energy, right? So if you want to listen to the religion, and if you want to think, that if we want to think of this first like a Big Bang theory, we cannot explain it unless you assign infinite amount of energy to the initial object in the universe that exploded and that expanded. Yes, so if you do that, to assign infinite amount of energy, you have to think of something that not material, that keep providing energy, unlimited amount of energy. And the only explanation could be we live in some sort of a virtual world, and we don't know what the heck is going on around us. We don't understand. We try to explain the virtual world we live in. Even we don't want to think that this world is made out of energy. Let's say we are stubborn and we think everything is material because that's the way we can measure it. We have formulas that demonstrate that. Yeah, of course, formulas that based on the material senses of the previously discovered formulas, and the way this virtual reality creator wants you to understand. That's why you have a limited amount of senses. Otherwise, if they wanted you to see more, you would be equipped with a larger number of senses, so you could see energies, you could see X-ray, you can see radar, radar, like gamma radiation, whatever it's out there, we know and we don't know yet. So you would be equipped with everything, every type of sensor to see the world in a big way, like a richer, to understand everything. But you are limited because they want you to have a limited experience and limited knowledge, limited understanding, right? So the only way you can have a richer understanding is to get rid of the mindset that keeps you stuck into the material world based on your material senses. Then if you can do that, then you will see the world richer. So humans try to do that. They build telescopes or any type of aids and sensors and systems that expand their senses. They expand the information that gets into their brain so they can see the world in a larger way. Yes, but all those are material. All these telescopes and the microscopes and the gamma sensors and X-ray. I used to work assembling X-ray sources of radiation, or even gamma sources like a nuclear radiation for Honeywell somewhere in Vancouver, Canada. So I had to think of different particles in the universe, different type of ways the energy can propagate. So going back to this initial, I don't know how long this recording is going to last. I have to pay attention to the traffic. At some point I thought it's automatic, my brain is automatic, so it makes me just think, but I have to disconnect from the mind from you, your partner, your passenger, my passenger, and pay attention to this traffic and pay attention to the heat, because I had the car heat turned on since the morning, and I thought, why is so hot here? So my brain is kind of now generating things that are not related to the topic, because it's overheating. Sorry about that. Yes, we go back to the energy that is being distributed throughout the space. So you think that it's limited amount of energy based on the previous scientific theories that was distributed or is flying all across the space. So if you think of this infinite space, unlimited space, then think of this far away, like billions and billions of light years distance-wise, objects in the sky, in the universe, like galaxies and new stars and new cosmic dust. Okay, so that's made out of molecules and atoms and whatever. So those things are very, very far. But how this initial energy, which was located somewhere in a very specific area of the universe, because you can't say that stuff it was everywhere, unless you think, oh yeah, actually it was like the quantum theory might say you had one explosion here, one there, everywhere was some sort of an explosion, one on one universe, one in another universe or dimension, whatever how you want to consider it, and somehow that energy is enough to reach far away distances, like far away objects. But if they say just one exploded, how come it's enough energy to maintain those atoms very, very, very far away together? Because the atom stays together because of the internal fields, the energy fields. So how you keep those electrons moving around for the existence of the atom? So where the energy comes from, let's say the atom comes and goes, if you think that way, if you think that the atom has a temporary life and they recombine or something does, but still to transform an atom from something to something else, it requires some energy. Or if it doesn't require input energy, that atom when it comes apart, let's say you have an isotope, uranium isotope, when the atom comes apart, it releases energy. That's why we use this phenomenon to generate nuclear power, right? So how come this thing works? Where that energy comes from? So even you get energy or you release energy at the atomic level, you still need a source of energy, and you have an infinite number of atoms which are located into some sort of a far away stars or constellations or systems like that. Where those get that energy from? Where that? Unless you think, the space is limited, and everything after that, where this the fastest I have to stop at the stoplight because I turned the car, and because I don't have a phone holder, which I don't need one in the car. I'm sorry I dumped you on the floor, and I'm sorry to make you see the mess on the ground. Okay, yes, this car has a powerful engine, and I have to drive it carefully, otherwise I'll give you a rough ride. And now, so again, where you get this energy from? Then another way of seeing things, let's say the initial object in the universe that exploded, if that one was made of an unknown chemical element or unknown type of atoms, which are not known to man or woman, and those atoms were so loaded with energy, were kind of the weirdest atoms you can imagine, like having a bunch of like an infinite number of electrons, and for or a huge number of electrons and a big nucleus and a big energy field that kept those things together. So it was very, 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 very heavy atoms that made a very, 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 very heavy matter, or something made out of molecules, or whatever, the way we see the substance in the universe. Maybe it was just atomic stuff that made a very, very, very heavy, or I don't know, metal, something heavier than metals, something that we don't know and we don't understand. So it was that dense and that heavy that had enough atomic energy and atomic mass that once after explosion it broke down to the known and unknown smaller elements and lighter elements that form the universe. So you could think of that Big Bang theory that way, you know. It was a big, like some sort of a special type of atoms and very concentrated form of atomic energy, and exploded because of some reason, some external force. But still, even you think that way, it's a limited amount of energy that was concentrated into a mass, into something, into an object in the universe. So you cannot, with the current theories, you cannot assign a unlimited amount of energy that is able to supply for billions and billions of years, supply with energy the whole known and unknown universe, which supposedly is infinite. You cannot do that. So in order to gain energy to supplement those objects in the universe, which are made out of atoms or whatever, the way we are taught by the science, we think that everything in the universe must be material and must be made of atoms, and atom made out of whatever subatomic particles. That's the way we are taught, because that's the level of knowledge the science reached. So we cannot, I mean, we can, but we don't want to get out of this type of mindset. Why? Because it did serve the human race for hundreds of years, and it still does, and it serves our interests, and it makes us feel that we have a good life. And why we need to give up to this type of theory? It's like having a father teaching you to hunt, to stay alive, and because of that, when you are adult on your own, you are able to stay alive because of those teachings. But at some point someone comes to you and tells you, you know what, your father raped your sister, and you think, ooh, I believed in my father with all my heart. He taught me to hunt, he taught me to have a good life, he taught me everything I know, he is my God, he is everything for me. How come I cannot believe that my father would do that? So, you know, the same thing with science. If science gave you everything that gives you a life you have, and not the religion, you will not believe if someone else will try to take your love away or belief away. The same happened with very, very religious people. They think, you know what, the religion, the Bible, the God, or Jesus gave me all the love I need. Everything is made by God. Everything I see and understand is made by God. So if those people really believe that, and if someone tells them, you know what, this is the alien ship, come inside, I'll show you the truth, who you are, where you came from, how your world is made. And if you go there and let's say you start opening up, and suddenly you are being transponded or transported into a world where you have more senses, so you see more, and you see more truth, and you get more information about who you are, why you are here, and now they project in your mind some sort of a movie or something, a story of your life and the creation and everything. You start thinking, ooh, these freaking guys, the religious leaders, try to indoctrinate me with something that they thought is the truth, but it breaks your heart. It's like it's a sudden change. It's like did I see some? I said something bad about religion, and probably someone up there or did not like that. So I'm sorry for keeping you in the dark. Can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me? Hello, hello. So let me pick you up. Let me pick you up back to the seat. I'm sorry about that. I should drive with a softer foot. But again, I need to watch for traffic. Okay, so coming back. So you believe whatever the science tells you. I gave you some reason why. I gave you some reasons. I hope it makes sense. And again, going back to those atoms in objects or in systems, celestial systems and stars and whatever, far away in the universe. So you don't have enough energy to supplement those. Why? Because actually I have an appointment. I forgot. To supplement those atoms, unless you get an extra source of energy from somewhere. And in order to gain energy in any system in the material world, in order to gain energy, let's say you want to amplify or boost some energy, you need another extra source of energy. So let's say you have your signal coming from your mouth, and the sound wave that you produce when you sing or you want to speak, and those are energy waves. So you move the air molecules and you propagate your sound. So if you want to be heard louder, you need to put more energy. So you need to vibrate those vocal cords harder, so stronger signals, or the signals from the brain tells this one to vibrate harder, so you scream. Or if it's still not enough, then you need to use a megaphone or some the amplifying device that require an energy source, like a battery or some sort of a plug or something. So that's the way you amplify, or amplify a power of a radio station or something like that. You need more power, okay, then that means you need to use an amplifier, a gain or amplifying system, which require extra energy, extra power from somewhere, from power source. So if you think of these stars from a system very far away, in order to supplement those with energy, you need an extra power source, and that source of power should be in the vicinity, because if that power source is somewhere far away, then also it costs you some energy, so you need energy to move energy. So that source of power should be in the vicinity of those remote, very far star systems. So if you have two Big Bangs, or an infinite number of Big Bangs spread across the infinite universe, yes, it makes sense. But to have one Big Bang and spread all over the place, it does not make sense, unless you think maybe that extra source of energy to supplement those far away atoms and objects is sort of an alien creature or a god, or maybe we live in a virtual world and we are limited to see only that, or we're limited to believe what they want us to believe and discover, right? So not getting into this other topic, side topic, but again, this single object or this single star that exploded, if it's just one, does not make sense if we believe that the universe is infinite, and if we believe that it requires energy to keep the atoms together, again, it does not make sense to how you supplement all these atoms in the whole universe, thinking even you think that that initial explosion had a huge amount of energy, unless you think, yes, that that initial explosion had infinite amount of energy, but it doesn't match the material world theories about energy, because energy cannot be infinite in our world, unless you are tempted to think, maybe there is an infinite source of energy that powers up everything, and maybe this infinite source of energy is something like a god or something, or maybe it's everywhere, like all across the universe we know and we don't know, and it's supplementing energy to all these material forms the way we see it as a matter, or energetic forms, depends what's your belief system. And yeah, that could be an explanation, that there is an infinite source of energy, and is providing energy to keep this universe in motion the way we see it and understanding. Because if you stop providing energy to those atoms, guess what happens with atoms? If there's no force, no field, energy field to keep these electrons flying around the nucleus, and if you don't have that cloud of electrons flying around nucleus or the central core, if you don't have the energy field to keep the nucleus together, like protons and neutrons or whatever, neutrinos or whatever particles are into the core of the atom, if you don't have the energy to keep the atom together, what happens? It's going to disintegrate. Everything is going to fly around. So let's say if you stop the gravity on a planet, what keeps that planet together? The magma and the surface of the planet. What keeps that thing together? It's an energy. It's an energy that is actually a field. And if we stop that flow of energy to every single atom that is part of this planet, then nothing keeps them. I need to watch for pedestrians and watch for cars that are thinking that they are the only one on the road, and traffic, and keep track of what I was saying. So again, there is a supplement of energy for everything around. Regardless, you believe that we are made of energy that takes shape of a matter we see, or we are made out of material atoms. Regardless, they require energy, not only to keep them warm or keep the heat, keep the atoms at certain temperature above 0 Kelvin, but to keep the atoms together. So I got back to the shop, and I think I'm late for an appointment or something, I don't know, and I think I'm done with the theory explanation. Maybe another time I'll made up a continuation or something, but you don't have to believe what I said, okay? It's just I'm spitting out just in case you may find for somehow this recording somewhere on the internet, and you are an open-minded thinker. Okay, so see you later. I have to go back because, like I said, I have an appointment, and I have stuff to do for this search and rescue group, which I'm excited to work for this little work, this job. And talk to you later. See you later. Bye bye. Love everyone. Today, for some reason, this coffee, McDonald's coffee, lasted like 4 hours. No, 5 hours. Ooh, such a good coffee. Bye bye.